You've been taught that reality is solid, that the world around you follows rules, concrete, predictable, and linear. But beneath the surface of the everyday lies a realm so strange, so counterintuitive, that it threatens to shatter everything you think you know. This is the world of quantum physics, where particles exist in multiple places at once, where two entities separated by galaxies behave as if they are one, and where your very awareness can shift the outcome of an experiment. Science, for centuries, was built upon certainty. Newton gave us laws of motion. Einstein revealed the malleability of space and time. But then came quantum mechanics, and suddenly the universe refused to sit still. Particles blinked in and out of existence. Outcomes changed based on observation. Cause and effect no longer moved in a straight line. They folded in on themselves, curled around paradoxes, and opened doors that led far beyond the material world. This isn't just about atoms or molecules. It's not confined to labs or equations on chalkboards. What quantum physics reveals, when stripped of the jargon, is that consciousness isn't separate from reality. It's a part of it. In fact, it may be the very fabric from which reality is woven. You see, beyond the atoms and forces, there is something more mysterious at play. A silent intelligence, a field of infinite potential that responds not to force, but to awareness. That changes not with effort, but with observation. This video isn't just a lesson in science, it's a doorway. A portal through which we will question the limits of perception and awaken to the deeper architecture of existence. We are going to explore three mind-altering principles from quantum physics: entanglement, superposition, and the observer effect. These aren't just scientific curiosities. They are clues, breadcrumbs leading us to a truth long whispered by mystics, but now affirmed by the most precise instruments in physics. You'll come to see that your mind is not a passive receiver, but an active creator. That what you focus on shifts the probabilities of your life. That you are not isolated in your body, but part of a vast web where thought and matter are deeply intertwined. This is not science fiction. This is the cutting edge of reality itself. And once you see through the cracks in the matrix, there is no going back. Let's begin at the edge, where the old laws fade and the quantum begins to speak. At first glance, quantum physics might seem like a distant topic, something best left to scientists, laboratories, and complex calculations. But once you look closer, it becomes something far more intimate. It becomes a mirror, a reflection of your own consciousness, your choices, and the reality you move through every day. Quantum physics is the study of the universe at its smallest scales. While classical physics deals with objects we can see, planets, cars, baseballs, quantum physics dives into the realm of subatomic particles, electrons, photons, quarks, and it's there, in the hidden scaffolding of existence, where the rules of reality begin to twist. In the classical world, everything seems stable. A ball thrown in the air follows a predictable arc. A rock stays exactly where you left it. But when we shrink down into the quantum domain, predictability gives way to probabilities. Outcomes are no longer certain, they are potential. Three principles sit at the heart of this reality-shattering field: entanglement, superposition, and the observer effect. And each of them points to something astonishing, that consciousness is not an afterthought in the universe. It may be the very engine that powers it. Let's start with entanglement. At the quantum level, particles can become linked in such a way that their states are no longer independent. When one particle changes, the other instantly responds, no matter how far apart they are. Distance doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter. The connection is immediate, as if the space between them simply doesn't exist. This isn't metaphor. It's been proven again and again in laboratories around the world. Einstein himself called it spooky action at a distance, because it defied everything he thought he knew about space and time. But what does this mean for you? It means that separation is an illusion. If particles can remain connected across galaxies, then so can consciousness. The relationships you form, the emotions you project, the thoughts you send into the world, they don't vanish. They ripple outward. They connect. The second concept is superposition. In the quantum realm, particles don't have a single location or state until they are measured. Instead, they exist in a cloud of probabilities, multiple outcomes coexisting in parallel. Particle can be here and there, can spin left and right. It's not either or, it's both, and you are more like these particles than you realize. Every day you carry within you a multitude of possibilities. You're not locked into a single identity or fate. You can be wise and playful, logical and creative, gentle and powerful. The version of you that emerges depends on what you allow to be seen. Lastly, we arrive at the most provocative idea of all, the observer effect. In quantum experiments, simply observing a system can change its behavior. A particle traveling through two slits behaves like a wave, until it is watched. Then it behaves like a particle. The act of observation collapses the wave of possibility into a single outcome. This suggests something profound. Reality doesn't solidify until it is noticed. Consciousness has a role not just in interpreting the universe, but in shaping it. The implications are staggering. Your attention is not passive. It is creative. It brings forth the world you experience. What you focus on grows. What you expect shapes outcomes. What you believe bends the probabilities of your life. This is why quantum physics is far more than a field of study. It's a blueprint for understanding who you are and how your reality responds to you. The matrix of form and matter isn't rigid. It's soft, responsive, alive. And now that you've seen its cracks, you begin to sense that the limitations you've accepted were never fixed. They were choices, potentials left unobserved. Quantum physics reveals that the universe is not made of things. It is made of relationships. It is made of potential, collapsed into form through intention and awareness. This isn't just theory. It's the foundation of a new understanding of life. One where you are no longer the subject of random chance, but the participant in a cosmic orchestra of consciousness and energy. In the next part, we'll look deeper into entanglement, not just as a scientific phenomenon, but as a symbol of your connection to everything that exists. Prepare to see yourself not as a separate mind inside a body, but as an extension of the cosmos, eternally linked to all that is. At the heart of quantum entanglement lies a mystery so profound, it stretches beyond the confines of science and into the very nature of existence. Two particles, once interacting, can become so deeply linked that no matter how far apart they travel, across cities, continents, or galaxies, they behave as if they are still one. Measure the state of one, and the other instantly reflects that measurement, as if connected by an invisible thread outside the bounds of space and time. This isn't a metaphor. It's an observable, measurable phenomenon. And the implications are staggering. Because if subatomic particles can remain intimately connected across vast distances, then so can all things born from the same source. And that includes you, your body, your thoughts, your energy. All arise from the same unified field that governs every star, every tree, every cell. You are not isolated. You are part of a cosmic network that links you to everything and everyone. Entanglement shatters the illusion of separation. It tells us that connection is not just emotional, it is physical. It is energetic. It is foundational to the structure of the universe itself. You are not alone, not because you are surrounded by people, but because the fabric of reality doesn't allow for true isolation. Every action, every intention, every emotion you emit sends ripples through this interconnected field. Think of your consciousness like a tuning fork. When you resonate with joy, it creates sympathetic vibrations in others. When you radiate fear, it echoes in the collective field. Entanglement shows us that these aren't just poetic ideas, they are deeply rooted in the way reality actually works. Your connections with others are more than social bonds. They are quantum threads, invisible strands of shared energy that can influence, shift, and transform. This is why you can feel someone thinking about you, why a message from a loved one arrives just as you were thinking of them. These are not coincidences. They are subtle expressions of a deeper unity. Even your interactions with strangers are more powerful than you realize. A kind word, a focused thought, a silent prayer, each one has the power to echo through the web of entanglement and alter the emotional resonance of another human being. Without ever speaking, without ever meeting, distance does not diminish influence. The ancient teachings of interconnectedness, once thought mystical or symbolic, now find grounding in the very science once used to discredit them. Quantum entanglement is not just a curiosity, it is confirmation that we are all participating in a shared energetic field, that consciousness is not confined to individual skulls, but flows like a current, moving between us and through us, shaping the world we experience. This understanding changes everything. It changes how we treat others. Because harming another is no longer just an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-harm, echoed back through the entangled web. And kindness is not a favor. It's a resonance, returned and multiplied. It changes how we approach healing. Because healing yourself doesn't just uplift your body, it uplifts the field. It brightens the signal of your consciousness within the larger matrix. Your personal transformation contributes to a collective shift, even if you never utter a word. It changes how we view thought. Because thought isn't locked in your head, it moves outward. It affects probability, emotion, and energy in others. The field is responsive, and it listens to every frequency you emit. And it changes how we see death. Because if entanglement exists outside of time and space, then so must the soul. The connections we form do not break. They transcend the material and continue within the field, beyond what we call life. Quantum entanglement whispers a truth that religion and mysticism have long intuited. We are not many, we are one. Expressions of a single awareness, filtered through different lives, different perspectives, and different experiences. But at our core, we remain unified. So what does it mean to live with this understanding? It means cultivating awareness, not just of your own inner world, but of the subtle connections around you. Noticing the energetic threads between you and others. Honoring the intuition that tells you something is happening, even when there's no physical proof. It means becoming responsible not in a burdensome way but in a powerful way. Recognizing that your inner state sends signals through the field. That your peace brings peace. That your clarity brings clarity. That your courage can awaken courage in others who are entangled with your frequency. It means embracing empathy not as a performance but as a knowing. When you feel another's pain, it is not merely sympathy. It is resonance. You feel it because the boundary between you is thinner than you've been taught. Because on a quantum level, there is no true division. And it means transcending the illusion of individualism. Not by losing yourself, but by realizing that your most authentic self is still woven into a greater whole. That your journey is not in competition with others, it is in harmony with them. Their healing contributes to yours. Your growth paves the way for theirs. The web strengthens with each act of self-realization. You are not just you. You are the field experiencing itself through your eyes. This is the truth behind entanglement. Not just a scientific concept, but a revelation about the nature of consciousness. A call to remember who you really are. Not a solitary being navigating a cold, indifferent universe, but a luminous thread in a vast, intelligent tapestry. And in that realization, something begins to shift. Not outside, but within. A deeper awareness stirs. And the matrix, once rigid and absolute, begins to dissolve. In the next part, we'll explore the principle of superposition and what it reveals about your boundless potential. The you that is waiting to be chosen. The possibilities that have always been yours to collapse into reality. Reality, as you've been told, is singular. You're expected to be one thing, one identity, one personality. You make a choice and all others vanish. You take a path and the rest disappear behind you. But the quantum world doesn't play by those rules. And neither do you. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in one defined state until measured. They hover in a state of potential, a blend of all possibilities at once. This is called superposition. Particle is here and there, up and down, moving and still. Every state exists simultaneously, waiting to be brought into form by observation. This concept doesn't stay locked in the domain of particles. It stretches into the domain of consciousness, of identity, of human potential. Because just like a quantum particle, you are not one fixed version of yourself. You are a field of infinite expressions, each waiting to be noticed, chosen, and lived. The world may tell you to choose a label, a path, a definition. But the quantum nature of your being defies that rigidity. You are not confined to one identity. You are an orchestra of possibilities. At any moment, a new aspect of you can rise to the surface, an aspect that may have been dormant, unseen, unacknowledged. Until now, this is the secret of superposition. You are many things at once. The visionary and the skeptic, the healer and the warrior, the seeker and the creator. None of these aspects cancel the others. They coexist. They wait for you to observe them, to give them energy, to call them into the foreground of your life. You are not one self, you are many selves, braided together in a quantum field of being. This isn't fantasy. It's the deeper architecture of who and what you are. And the more you align with it, the more freedom you reclaim. Because freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the presence of choice. Superposition reminds you that choice isn't about external options. It's about internal recognition, the ability to shift into a different frequency of self without permission, without apology. When you look in the mirror, you are not seeing a finished product. You are seeing the version of you that has been most consistently observed, most frequently reinforced. But there are others, just as real, just as powerful, waiting to be called forth. There is a version of you that speaks with clarity, even if you've spent years feeling unheard. There is a version of you that walks in peace, even if chaos has followed you like a shadow. There is a version of you that creates, leads, heals, builds, loves. They are not imaginary. They are quantum potentials, as real as any particle hovering in a state of pure probability. You shift into these versions not by forcing change, but by altering your observation, by withdrawing attention from the version you no longer wish to energize, by becoming conscious of the self you choose to animate with presence. This is not pretending. It is collapsing the wave of possibility into form, the same way an electron snaps into a defined position once it is measured. Before the measurement, it was a cloud of maybes. After, it becomes a known reality. Your consciousness is that measurement. Your awareness is that observer. And your self-concept is the field of probabilities waiting to respond. This is why so many transformations seem sudden. Why someone can seem to become a different person almost overnight. It's not that they changed in a linear, step-by-step way. It's that they stopped energizing one version of themselves and began observing another. They collapsed a new potential into being. When you align with this truth, personal growth takes on a new meaning. It's no longer about climbing a ladder or fixing a broken self. It becomes about conscious selection, about navigating the quantum terrain of your inner world and choosing which frequency of identity to stabilize. And once chosen, it begins to reflect in your external reality. Because your state of being emits a signal. That signal tunes you to experiences, people, and outcomes that match the version of you you've stepped into. It's not magic. It's resonance. Alignment. Superposition also frees you from judgment. Because if everyone exists in a field of possibilities, then no one is permanently fixed to a single identity. The person who hurt you is capable of transformation. The one you misjudged may be living from a limited version of self. You, too, have acted from constrained possibilities. But now you know expansion is always available. This doesn't mean denying responsibility or ignoring consequences. It means recognizing that identity is fluid. That no one, including you, is defined by a single moment, a single trait, or a single role. The field is always in motion. Potentials are always shifting. What you choose to observe in yourself and in others holds creative power. Superposition is also an invitation to integrate, to honor all the parts of you, even the ones you've hidden or silenced, because they, too, belong. They carry information. They hold keys to the whole. Integration doesn't mean chaos. It means coherence, the ability to hold multiple truths within a unified awareness. You are not a linear story. You are a multidimensional being. And in each moment, the quantum field within you is alive with options. Not all of them will be realized, but all of them are real. So what do you choose to observe today? Which aspect of yourself are you ready to energize with focus, with breath, with presence? The moment you decide, the wave collapses. The potential becomes reality, and the matrix of identity begins to reshape. You are not limited to who you've been. You are not confined to what others expect. You are a living equation of probabilities, endlessly shifting, endlessly unfolding. In the next part, we'll explore the most mind-bending revelation of all, the observer effect, and how your consciousness literally shapes the reality around you. In the realm of quantum physics, observation is not passive. It is not neutral. It is not something that merely records what is already there. Instead, observation is an active force, a participant in the unfolding of reality. At the quantum level, particles exist in multiple states until they are observed. The act of observation causes the wave of probability to collapse into a single outcome. This is not theoretical. It has been tested, confirmed, and repeated. Observation determines reality. Not metaphorically, not philosophically, literally. Now pause and absorb what that means. It means that consciousness is not a bystander. It means your awareness is not separate from what you experience. It is the key that unlocks the form reality will take. The observer effect suggests something both unsettling and profoundly liberating. Your mind is not just reacting to the world. It is shaping it. Let that settle in. Everything you perceive, expect, believe, and give energy to, these are not idle thoughts. They are forces. They collapse potentials into outcomes. They tune you to specific frequencies of reality. Your consciousness filters, focuses, and gives coherence to what would otherwise remain a cloud of infinite probability. The universe is not out there, happening to you. It is entangled with your perception of it. This is the secret most never uncover. That you are not just living in a world, you are co-creating it with every observation you make. Now think of your beliefs, your assumptions, your self-image. These are not just ideas, they are observational instruments. They determine what versions of reality you allow into your awareness. If you hold a belief that life is a struggle, then that belief becomes the lens through which your reality crystallizes. If you hold a belief that you are capable, valuable, and connected, then the field responds accordingly. The observer effect doesn't require faith, it requires attention. It requires presence. Because what you consistently focus on is what gains definition. What you ignore collapses back into uncertainty. And this doesn't only apply to external situations. It applies to your inner world just as powerfully. When you observe your fear without judgment, it shifts. When you observe your desire without shame, it gains clarity. When you observe your intuition without doubt, it becomes sharper. These are not changes caused by effort, they are shifts caused by focused awareness, by the act of seeing. In this quantum view, observation is a sacred act. It is a creative force. It holds power. And yet, most people observe unconsciously. They let their attention be hijacked by distractions, by narratives, by unconscious programs that loop endlessly. And in doing so, they surrender their role as creators and become reactors, mirrors instead of architects. But the moment you become conscious of what you are observing, and how the paradigm begins to change, you start choosing your reality instead of inheriting it. And this is not about wishful thinking. It is about alignment. You cannot fake observation. You cannot deceive the field with hollow affirmations. The quantum field responds not to words, but to frequency. It responds to where your true attention is, to where your energy flows. That's why inner coherence is so essential. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions align, they form a clear signal. That signal interacts with the field and brings clarity to your path. You don't force outcomes, you align with them. You don't chase reality, you magnetize it. The observer effect also explains the phenomenon of synchronicity. When your consciousness is in a coherent state, you begin to notice meaningful coincidences, patterns that align with your inner world. This is not fantasy. It is resonance in action. The field is responding to the signal you're emitting. You are not merely observing life. Life is observing you, responding to the frequency of your awareness. This is why your inner dialogue matters. Not because of morality or discipline, but because it shapes the lens through which the field collapses into form. Thoughts charged with emotion become powerful observers. They carve pathways in the field. They invite specific outcomes into being. And so you are left with a responsibility, not a burden but an invitation, to become intentional with your awareness, to observe not from fear, but from clarity, not from lack, but from abundance, not from doubt but from knowing. This does not mean suppressing discomfort. It means becoming conscious of how you observe it. When you meet pain with judgment, it contracts. When you meet it with presence, it transforms. The field does not demand perfection. It responds to authenticity. The observer effect also implies that you are never fully at the mercy of your circumstances, because at any moment you can shift the way you see, and in doing so, shift the reality you inhabit. This is not always instant. The field does not respond to a single fleeting thought. It responds to the dominant frequency of your awareness. But with consistency, with intention, with clarity, you begin to rewire the matrix. Bit by bit, reality bends to the new observer. The greatest illusion is that things are fixed, that you are static, that what is seen is all there is. But the quantum truth reveals a deeper reality. Nothing is fixed until you observe it that way. So where is your awareness resting? What are you energizing with your focus? What are you choosing to collapse into your lived experience? Every moment, the universe asks these questions not with words, but with echoes, with reflections, with outcomes that mirror the observer within. And so choose with care, observe with power. Know that your presence is not passive, it is active. It is the sculptor of probability, the artist of reality, the silent force that determines what takes form. In the final part, we'll explore what it means to live this truth, to embody quantum principles and unlock the infinite possibilities of your conscious, interconnected, multifaceted self. Now the veil has lifted. The world you once thought was solid and absolute has revealed its hidden architecture, vibrating, fluid, responsive to your awareness. Quantum physics has given you the clues. Entanglement proves you're never truly alone. Superposition shows your limitless potential, and the observer effect hands you the brush to paint your reality. But the question remains, how do you live from this knowing? To live quantumly is to move through the world with a different rhythm. Not one based in reaction, but in resonance. Not in rigid logic, but in conscious alignment. It means you no longer ask, what is real? But instead ask, what am I choosing to make real with my presence? Quantum living begins with awareness. Not the surface kind that scans your to-do list or remembers passwords, but a deep, penetrating awareness that sees beyond appearances. This awareness recognizes that your thoughts are frequencies, your emotions are energy signatures, and your intentions are commands that echo into the field of possibility. In this state, you begin to feel the subtle feedback loop between your inner state and your outer experience. You begin to notice that when you shift your thoughts, the world responds not by chance but by law. This is not about forcing outcomes or manipulating events. It's about aligning your internal frequency with the reality you are ready to receive. Living this way means becoming intentional with your energy, no longer scattering your attention across endless worries or replayed fears, no longer pouring your focus into versions of self that you've already outgrown. You gather your awareness like a beam of light. You focus it like a laser on the reality you choose to activate. This choice is not loud. It is not frantic. It is silent, clear, powerful. You don't have to prove anything to the field. You only have to tune to the version of you that already exists within it. And this tuning is subtle. It is done in the quiet moments, in the thoughts you allow to loop, in the emotions you entertain, in the visions you hold when no one is watching. These are the moments that shape the probabilities around you. These are the commands you send into the matrix. Quantum living also means releasing control, because control is based on the illusion of separation. In truth, the field responds best to coherence, not force. You don't bend reality through willpower. You invite it through resonance. When you're aligned, things begin to move without effort. Ideas find you. Doors open. The right words appear at the right time. This is not magic, it is coherence. It is you becoming a precise signal in a universe of static. And the clearer your signal, the more fluid the manifestation. To live this way, you must release the need for certainty. The quantum field thrives in uncertainty. It is the birthplace of all creation. When you embrace uncertainty, you step into the zone of power. You become a participant in the unfolding of what has not yet taken form. You begin to trust the unseen. Not blindly, but deeply. You feel the texture of the field beneath surface appearances. You feel the pull of intuition, the guidance of resonance, the quiet knowing that doesn't shout but never lies. Quantum living is also an act of courage. Because to live this way is to refuse the programming of limitation. It is to step out of the collective trance that says you are small, separate, powerless, defined. It is to remember who and what you are. A conscious node in an infinite web of energy and intelligence. And this remembrance brings responsibility, not the burden of performance, but the invitation of creation. Because now you know what you think, what you feel, what you believe, it all matters. It is not confined to your mind. It moves outward. It shapes what is. It bends the field. This is why your inner world must become your sanctuary. Not a place you escape to, but a place you build deliberately. A place where your thoughts are chosen, your emotions are processed, your beliefs are examined. Not to control the outer world, but to harmonize with it. As you move through this world, you begin to see signs everywhere, not as omens but as feedback. You feel connected to something larger, yet also more personal. The universe begins to feel like a conversation, not a monologue. It responds, it adjusts, it listens. And so you stop waiting for proof. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to live as if what you know is already true. Because in the quantum model, belief is not something you acquire after evidence. It is the lens that brings the evidence into form. You begin to treat your thoughts like architects, not shadows. You begin to see your emotions as navigational instruments. You begin to respect the unseen dimensions of your being. Quantum living also brings clarity to your relationships. You stop needing others to validate your reality. You stop entangling your self-worth in their perceptions. Instead, you feel the resonance of your own field. And from that stable core, you attract others who match your frequency, not by demand, but by law. This way of living is not about perfection. It is about alignment. And alignment does not mean absence of challenge. It means clarity of direction. It means knowing that even in chaos, you are still tuning the signal. You are still influencing the field. You are still a conscious participant in the unfolding of reality. Eventually, this awareness becomes your new normal. You begin to walk through the world with presence, with calm, with a quiet certainty that doesn't need to explain itself. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop waiting for signs and start being the sign. This is the quantum life. Not a theory, but a path. Not a concept, but a state of being. It is a life lived from the inside out. A life where possibility is not something you chase. It is something you awaken. A life where you no longer ask, is it possible? But instead declare, I am the possibility, because you are. You always have been. And now you know.